Okay, this is day 114. This is part two, and the internet is alive with SoftLayer. What did QAnon mean with SoftLayer? And if you check, the IP address is used by ClintonEmail.com. So that's the big takeaway there. And then people are trying to geolocate it. They're headquartered in Dallas, Texas, but they mapped to Chantilly, Virginia, the data center that was used by SoftLayer. Well, everyone knows Chantilly, Virginia was where Operation Cassandra was, and the reason I did the last video was to show the CIA infiltration about how you can use gangs for security by picking up these groups that are trustees to be basically your organizer in different territories. And the best model to think of is Imran 1 here in this area. Basically, you establish a guy here who's your trustee, and then as you get different candidates that want to come work for him, you come over and you say, okay, I want you to report to the SEIU office. I want you to fill out this resume. You know, Imran's got the resume all set up for, let's say, Jackson Heights, New York. We're going to get you, started with, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, or we're going to get you a cab, or whatever. But the idea here is you have a guy, your man in Havana. If it was Craig Murray, it would be our man in Tashkent, getting you Saipov truckers. But here, in Virginia, it's going to be Imran 1. Now, you're going to have people at usually located around the community colleges, and this is kind of like a go-to guy. They used to call it like an ombudsman or whatever. This is going to be like that Henry guy in Los Angeles. They're going to have the control and know who to talk to if anybody acts up. This is the way unions have been organized forever. Union foremans with precincts and so forth. So this is why SEIU is the perfect way to do this. And what you're going to find, I know this is going to be shocking and people are going to not believe this, but the SEIU, there was a program inside the DNC called Catalyst, run by a guy named Harold Ickes, Ickes, and that program, I believe, is going to map directly into this Chantilly office of the DEA, here where this investigation was, and this is going to be Operation Cassandra. And the key here is you need to link all these offices together in some way, and you need to communicate with them. And then money needs to come from these areas from various activities. Let's say I bring people coming in from Pakistan who don't really have any skills, can't drive a car, whatever. I say, well, you're going to go down to Lachine, and you're going to go down to Manitoba, and you're going to be, there's going to be some girls there that are going to have visitors every night, and your job is to make sure those girls never get away. And if they start to try to get away, you got to stab them or hit them in the head or whatever, make sure they don't leave, okay? That's your job, okay? So that's the low end, and Omar starts with Rayo at kind of in a apartment complex that's real ratty like that, and they move their way up to kind of being more this kind of ombudsman or local foreman of the precinct, and then they move up the ladder to becoming a regional manager, etc. That is Operation Cassandra. How do you get the money now back to DNC? How do you get the money back to DNC? Well, you got to go through the wires. You got to go through communication. Now, do you want to do that unencrypted? Do you want to do that through something the NSA could easily see, or do you want to have a soft layer that looks like something else that's kind of hidden, and then have all your communications kind of travel the Navy, dark web, the Navy onion router, okay? The Tor browser is the onion router. Do you want that communications through the onion router? I think you do, especially these kind of transactions, right? We're not talking about transactions that, you can talk to your grandmother about on the phone when you go over for visits on Sunday. This is the onion router type transactions. So I believe that this SoftLayer was key in enabling the program from the DNC point of view is going to be known as the Catalyst program. The program from the meetup spots, if you will, is going to be the local union office, the SEIU office, the place where you intake people that are trying to get new jobs and so forth. And I believe the communication is going to be between these SEIU offices and the Hillary for America. Now, I believe the main hub of activity in Washington, D.C. is going to be the kind of the if you need a car or garbage truck driven on a train in front of a bunch of congressional congressmen, you call, SEIU 32 BJ. So each one of these also has kind of a dirty tricks unit as well. And the unions have been doing this forever, but SEIU is really the dirtiest of the unions. So I know that's all very complicated, but you have to have a communications layer. It's better to have a soft layer where it doesn't show all these IP addresses that are easily seen. It's better that you go underneath, you use that onion router, you use that Navy onion router, and you have a secure form of communications that people don't see. I don't think they fooled NSA, though. I think NSA has the communications, and they have the emails. And so if you scroll down here, oh, by the way, I saw Josh Utretsky. Josh Utretsky made a comment here. If you don't remember him, he's the guy who took over for a brief time at DNC for Bernie Sanders. So, and I asked him, hey Josh, how are we doing on finding out if there was communications on the hour between the DNC and Hillary for America? How are we doing on that? Did you ever find out if there was any NGP van information going from back and forth? And he hasn't answered me yet.